Well, I'm joined now by a very special guest, certainly one of the big winners for the 55th National Conference of the ANC. Here live from Nasrec, I am joined in our studio by the incumbent and brand new chairperson of the African National Congress, Mr. Gwede Mantashe. Mr. Mantashe, good morning to you, and I think congratulations is in order once again.
To you and to your viewers.
Were you surprised by the win?
It was tough and tight. But it's fine, I appreciate the win. Even if you win by 2 votes, when you win, it's win. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say it was tough and it was tight, because I want to get into the numbers and the results, right? 2062, I remember when they announced the numbers, you sat down for a moment because you wanted to be sure of just exactly the margin, right? And what the exact numbers were. Yes. Because Mr. Stan Mathabata was at 2018, 2018, and you 2062.
Yes, that gives you 44 votes difference.
So what was happening at that moment before you got up?
No, I've seen it in conferences before, where a person is announced, he stands up, on the way to the stadium, he stands back. You are not the real winner, the winner is coming. I didn't want it to happen to me.
If we look at these numbers though, I think they certainly say a lot about what happened in the lobbying here at Nasrec, Chairperson, because they were, I mean, we saw what happened with the PEC in the Northwest and in Limpopo particularly, right? Some of the discussions around whether or not there was lobbying happening, and you know, when I look at these numbers, I wonder if Mr. Mathabata's numbers would have been so close to yours had that lobbying not taken place.
No, the reality is that on the nomination, he was quite a number ahead of me, so we had to work hard to cover up the gap between his nomination and our nomination. And if you look at David Masondo, he won the Western Cape by 3 nominations ahead of me. Therefore, in all those areas, we put them down. We had to do a catch-up exercise between the announcement of the nominations and the actual conference. And I think it worked. And we took a decision that when everybody else was throwing money around, we're not going to do that. We must do an organic campaigning, talk to people, visit regions, engage members of the ANC, talk to delegates.
Are you concerned though, Mr. Mantashe, about you know, discipline of branch delegates who come to Nasrec or come to conference to represent branch members on the ground, that they may or may not stick to the mandate given to them by their branch back home?
Now, ill discipline was very high in the conference. The conference had gone very youthful, and the discipline declined dramatically. So throughout the conference, we had to call people to order, to work in terms of the rules of conference. And that is part of the growing process. Those are growing pains. And we had to tolerate that, be patient with them. Many said we're too tolerant. You know, one provincial secretary, which I will not mention, said to me, "Your problem, you are too democratic." And I had to take him through and say to him, it's not democracy, it's just patience to ensure that these members learn how the ANC works and to take your time.
I'd like to talk a little bit about this top 7, right?
Yes.
It's quite a mix. 3 women represented. You've got Mr. Fikile Mbalula representing some of the younger lions, perhaps, of the party. I mean, when you look at it, is this a top 7 that also speaks to the balance of the different powers that you have within the party?
We always believed in generational mix in the ANC, that you don't take one generation and make it leadership. I think one of the improvements we will see in this top 7 is that we have reduced this federal approach to the top 6, that the top 6 is a representative of provinces. It should not be. You elect your top 7 leaders of the ANC. Anybody who's elected in that top 7 is a member of the top 7, and this thing of a province and belong to that province does not work. Lutuli House is in Gauteng. All 7 of us will be Gautengers now, because we work from Gauteng. If you're in government, you will have to work from Pretoria. So it's an infantile discussion to talk about where do you come from, where is your home, where is your branch. You elect top 7 leaders of the ANC, they must also appreciate the importance of working as a team. Because if we think that we can be shining stars individually, we're going to collapse and fail the program.
You're not so you're not at all concerned that KwaZulu-Natal is not represented in this top 7?
I'm concerned, but I think it's the conference outcomes are a function of what you invested. If you sow wind, you reap whirlwind. If you sow sweets, you reap a product. If KZN is not on the top 7, it means that their strategy didn't fit the conference, and therefore they lost out.
I think key priorities for the new NEC,
yes,
moving into the new tenure of the African National Congress. Number one, how you deal with disciplinary processes. I mean,
yes,
there's a lot of questions around whether or not those members that did not vote with the party lines in the National Assembly on the Section 89 report will be dealt with. What that's going to look like, Mr. Mantashe, and perhaps even the Section 89 report itself being handed over to the brand new NEC to deal with. I mean, what does that look like for the party moving forward?
You see, one of the things that I believe a lot in, and sometimes I'm described as being too conservative. I believe that processes must be respected. And when people are involved in processes, don't stifle their rights. For example, there's a big debate about whether the president must review the report. And my argument was that the president has a right as a citizen, as an individual, to review the report. He's not happy about it. And we must never take away that right from him. Because if we do that, we'll have to take it away from everybody else after him. So it's good that we take this process and be patient with it. Follow it through. Outcome of that process must determine the future.
I must tell you that over the past 5 days, I've sat in this box with quite a few political analysts. Many of them, one of them being Professor Lesiba Tefo, having hailed the role that you played in the run-up to the national conference, saying that following the report of the Section 89 report, this expectation that the president was going to step aside, the role that you played in really pushing and getting the party together days before the conference, many analysts have said has been very admirable. What was that for you, and how do you go about doing that in a party that is so deeply fractured?
If you stick to rules, fracturing of the party is not going to impact the outcome of a process, because you stick to the rules. Everybody who votes against the party line, 5 of them in parliament, and a number of them opted not to come to parliament. All those people, the new NEC will have to interrogate their behavior. Outcome of that process cannot be determined prematurely, but they must be interrogated. You voted against the party publicly, and what does that mean? And there's a big infantile debate about conscious voting. And you vote according to your conscience. Actually, it's a fallacy, because we're all in a party political system. And everybody who's in that parliament didn't contest any constituency. Everybody is on party lists. That's why other parties, their members toe the lines of parties. But when it comes to the people that in the ANC it must be free for all, everybody can actually behave as a free agent. There's no such a party policy system that allows people to be free agent. Everybody is a member of the ANC. You comply to the discussion. You must be part of the discussion and actually abide with the results of that process.
The last time, just one last one, Mr. Mantashe, before I let you go. The last time, or one of the last times you and I spoke was at the local government elections last year. The party having a very difficult election, I think we can all agree on that one, in 2021. Do you think that this is the leadership of the party that has strengthened you for 2024?
I said there's a hope in this new leadership. But hope can only translate into reality depending on the interventions you make. It's not a dream and wish and therefore it happens. It will depend how we work. You know, if we have good players in the team, but we play individually, will make very little difference, because it's not a question of stars, it's a question of teams. And I admired Argentina winning the World Cup. Everybody praised Messi. But if you observe the way they play, everybody contributed to every goal that was scored there. And that's what is required in this team. That this team must work together, must be a team. It must, if each member's strength must complement each other member's strength. And if we do that, we can improve 2024.
Well, we'll be watching closely, Mr. Mantashe. Thank you so much for your time, and once again, congratulations.
Of course.
Once again, a newly appointed but incumbent chairperson of the African National Congress as he goes into his second term and that leadership position of the party. We hand over now to my colleague Samkele Maseko, who's right here in Nasrec with us.
Well, Naledi, in a very hotly contested conference, it's good to see that Gwede Mantashe still had the time to watch the Football World Cup, where Argentina was playing against France. But we're now joined by Mr. Stanley Chupu Matabata with my colleague Pimani, who lost out on the national chairpersonship position of the ANC. Mr. Matabata, very hotly contested conference, particularly on the national chairperson. How did you lose out, particularly knowing that in your slate, it's only Nomvula Mokonyane and Paul Mashatile who got in, and the rest simply did not get in? How did you lose?
Well, losing perhaps is a very strong word to use, because I don't think we lost anything. Because in our slate, if I have to call it that, we had, in fact, let me call it preferences of the branches of Limpopo, because the branches of Limpopo gave us 6 names. And out of this 6 names, number 1 was Cyril Ramaphosa, Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. Number 2 was Paul Mashatile, 3 Stan Matabata, and 4 was Mtumiseni, and then 4 was Mtumiseni, and then Nomvula was number 5. And then lastly was Pechan. And out of all those names, we managed to secure at least 3. Despite the rumbles and the problems, the challenges that we encountered on our way up till today, we managed to secure at least 3. So I wouldn't say we lost. Yes, Stan Matawata did not get in, but Maruping from Limpopo got in.
But Premier, speaking about that mandate leading up to the last day of that election, we saw you and your deputy, Ms. Florence Razilani, saying that you're now going with N3, which some have cited as betraying the mandate of the province. Is that a good way of putting it? Did you betray the mandate of the province? No,
Pema. I don't think we did. We had a very difficult choice, a very hard choice to make, because we found ourselves between a rock and a hard surface. If you go to people, trying to negotiate with these people, and they keep on rejecting you, you feel that we are being pushed away, and look for something that can secure, that can get better value for the mandate of the people, the branches of Limpopo. The branches of Limpopo nominated 6 names, not just 1, And out of these 6, this other slate, or should I call it the preferences, the campaign of the other campaigners of the president, they only wanted to recognize only 1 name. And we said, no, we can't live with that.
Which name did they just want to recognize?
They recognized only the president's name, They recognized only the president. They did not want Paul, they did not want Mdumisen, they did not want Stan, they did not want Nomvula, they did not want Bechan. And all these 5 were on our mandate from the branches of Limpopo. We're supposed to represent all these 5 names, including that of the president. So we had to make a very difficult choice as to whether we dump 5 and remain with 1, or we go with 5 and try to salvage something out of the 5, because we were almost certain about the issue of the president.
On trying to negotiate, were they not even willing to accommodate 2 more or 3 more besides the president?
Nothing. they were not willing to accommodate anything from that those 6 names that were presenting.
And now, Chair,
sorry, before you come, and for me, like, that is why I'm saying I had to take a very difficult choice, because as you would know, you know that I always respected President Ramaphosa, and I like him as a person. Yeah. So it was very difficult for me to take a particular decision on that. But I told myself, Stan, you can't take a decision here based on your heart, what your emotional feeling is. Take a decision that is informed by your brains. Do you want to dump the mandate of the province of Limpopo on 5 people because you want to salvage what you like? Then, hence I'm saying it was between a rock and a hard surface. But I'm happy.
I understand that. My question would be, but that's not my initial question, it's your personal relationship with the president strained now. But I want to also go back. You are now presiding over a PEC where we've seen 3 members, yourself, your deputy, and your deputy secretary standing on one side, which we've been told it was you personally lobbying, not the mandate of the province. And the rest of the PEC that remained with the mandate that you were sent here with. How are you going to preside over this after this conference? We're leaving now, we'll be heading back to Limpopo. The PEC, will it be able to continue working together? We've seen branches saying you are unable to lead them. They would rather lead themselves, like regional leaders saying that. What is going to happen in Limpopo now?
No. I don't think you are analyzing the situation properly. I don't think you're analyzing the situation properly. What happened there? Remember, the mandate of Limpopo, PEC, has never changed. When I realized that we are getting this kind of situation, these difficult conditions that we're facing, on the eve of elections taking place, I convened PEC members and said to them, comrades, you've got to discuss this matter and take a decision. Do we dump the 5 and go with the president alone or what? Discuss this matter. I convened them. And I said, because I'm an interested party, I'm conflicted, I will not be part of this meeting. Deputy chairperson will chair this meeting, continue and take a decision. Unfortunately, they could not take a decision on that matter. But if you are going to say so and so, no, we're still together, all of us. Myself and the provincial secretary yesterday in the evening, we convened a meeting with regional chairpersons and regional secretaries. All the regions were represented by either the secretary or the chairperson. We analyzed the situation and presented everything to them. And comrades understood that really here we're moving under very troubled water. I mean, within very troubled waters. Any decision could have been taken. But the most important thing is the leadership of the ANC has been elected, and we support it fully as a PEC of Limpopo.
Mr. Matabata, I'm going to show you a video here, and I'm going to put it close to you so our viewers can. I'll put it close to you so our viewers can also hear. Your delegates were shouting, "Sell out, sell out," and chucked Florence Razilani out of conference. I want you to look at this video, and I'll put it closer so that our viewers can hear the sound.
But you see, most of the delegates are seated down. Can you see? Most of the delegates are seated. Few are shouting those words. But I understand. I can understand their frustration. Just like I'm telling you, I was also frustrated, because I had to take a very difficult decision. I understand their frustrations, If you reach a situation like I'm telling you about, you've got to provide leadership. You must be strong and provide leadership, because some of the people will act like that.
How are you then going to work with this leadership going forward when you say the core around the president, which is dubbed the Platinum Group, was kicking you to the curbs, kicking the now newly elected Deputy President Paul Mashatile to the curbs, the very same man who is alleged to have betrayed you and Zwelini Mkhize and to have allegedly told his delegates to not vote for you but vote for the core supporting President Cyril Ramaphosa? How are you going to work with this group, Platinum Group, that's rejecting you, and also now the core of Paul Mashatile that is alleged to have betrayed you?
Samkel, when you go to conferences, there are things that you do because there are emotions involved, there are tensions, there are frustrations involved. There are things that people are doing not based on their brains or minds, based on their hearts or their feelings and all this kind of thing. But once the conference is over, people go back to their senses and reason prevails. And many conferences of the ANC, more especially prior to 2007, have always proved to be gatherings that are uniting the African National Congress. I am open. In fact, I don't have any grudge with anyone who did not vote for me, who did not support me going to these elections. I will support. Gwede Mantashe is a very good friend of mine, is my comrade. I'll support him fully, non-reservedly.
Mr. Mathabata, before I hand over to my colleague Pimani, there's a video as well of you and the president. In cool kids terms, the president blue-ticking you. It's alleged that your relationship with the president has soured over the past few years. How is your relationship with President Ramaphosa?
My relationship with President Ramaphosa is very, very, very cordial and very, very sober. I've got no problem. Like I said earlier on, I like President Ramaphosa as a person. He's a very good, he's a role model to me, I can say. I like him as a person and I respect him as a leader. I always communicate with President Ramaphosa. I visit him at his house. We enjoy goat meat together. Game meat together with President Ramaphosa. I've got no problems. I don't think our relationship is strained.
Speaking on that relationship, just as a last one from me, even leading up to this conference, there were many social media accusations, specifically coming from one of your former PEC members, Ms. Polibushelo, that all along, this was your plan from January 8th when you made that announcement. You were going to backstab the president. What would be your response to such allegations?
No, that is nonsense to say the least. That is nonsense. The only change was caused by this rejection, and also not the rejection by the president, the rejection by the people who were running his campaign. It was not President Ramaphosa. I'm very certain that he will never reject us.
Last one, quick one. Are you meeting the president this week on a one-on-one bilateral?
Yes, it is possible that I'll meet the president this week on a one-on-one bilateral. But yes, it will be just to congratulate him and chart the way forward with the president.
So it's just
if he gets time, I'll meet with him this week.
So you're going to apologize?
No, not apologize. No, I don't think he will also need an apology from me. You'll understand my position.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mathabata. That is the provincial chairperson of the ANC in Limpopo, who narrowly lost out against Gwede Mantashe for the national chairpersonship of the African National Congress in this 55th National Conference of the ANC, saying that the platinum group surrounding the president rejected them and Paul Mashatile, as we link to the break.